Zerg swarm
is mine, by right. All those that deny that are my foes.
Whole sector denies, from Char to Core Hall. Old queens deny with death throes. Larva deny while egg grows. Swarm does not want you as queen. Uneasy lies the head that wears the crown. The Zerg swarm has had several rulers throughout the series. From Mr. Eyeball to Queen Bee, their leadership has evolved as much as their minions. As of the end of Legacy, the current Queen Zagara rules with a sort of iron fist. But the direction she's taken the swarm and her journey throughout the games are not without their detractors. So it begs the question, is Zagara a worthy successor to Kerrigan in Starcraft 2? Now, I don't have time to go through every single feat the Overmind and Kerrigan have under their belts, and I've spoken about them several times already. I can safely say that the two have similar but noteworthy qualities. Qualities that have made them excellent leaders of the Zerg during their respective reigns. Versatility, the ability to adapt to changing circumstances. Be it through assimilation or infestation, forging alliances to destroy important structures, or dethroning oppressive rulers. Studiousness, the willingness and ability to learn from mistakes, be it through taking information from a psychic assassin's mind, or through taking advice not to be predictable. Wisdom, the ability to make smart decisions, either through pinning down the Dark Templar and immediately attacking Ire, or destroying her former allies while tired. Ruthlessness, the willingness to resort to violent and extreme measures to pursue one's goals. Be it through invading Terran and Protoss space, or through double-crossing, blackmail, and very unpeaceful acts against foes and allies. Initiative, the ability to act independently. Now, this is limited because Space Squid, but the Overmind evidently did have some autonomy in creating the Queen of Blades. Kerrigan also had more independence than the other Cerebrates. Ambition, having long-term goals. The Overmind pursued perfection, while Kerrigan pursued power, then revenge. And of course, respect. Not politeness, mind you, but being mindful of your foe's abilities. While the Overmind recognized the threat of the Dark Templar, Kerrigan recognized the threat of the UED, Raynor, Phoenix, Duke, the Primal Zerg, Narud, Amon, and also the Dark Templar. You know how this works at this point. To determine whether Zagara is a worthwhile Queen of the Zerg, we gotta take a look back at her journey. Not just her own, but that of the Queen unit as a whole. The original Queen was a flying spellcaster who specialized in reconnaissance and assassination. Now lore-wise, they tended hives alongside overlords, and in the years after Brood War, they spec'd into this aspect, gaining abilities to bolster reproduction and creep spread. These queens were relatively frail and largely served as support units, not leaders. Nevertheless, they pointed to a general shift in the Zerg hierarchy. With the death of the Cerebrates, Kerrigan evidently wanted a contingency should she ever get offed. Here comes the age of the Broodmother, stronger queens intended to replace the Cerebrates as leaders of the Broods. Their existence is first hinted at with a particularly strong variant in Belly of the Beast, defending the Zerg Nidus network against Raynor. She boasts a much larger size and even a psychic scream to stun her enemies. A shame this spell never makes a comeback. Imagine if Zagara had something like this. But in fairness, this was probably a one-off experiment. With Kerrigan's fall at the end of Wings, the Broodmothers followed a directive. Be strong, fight, conquer. This had the possibly unintended effect of a second Brood War, as the Broodmothers proceeded to, using technical terms, beat each other up and leave the swarm vulnerable to their enemies. On Calder, Nefesh found herself cut off from her hive and under attack by the Protoss. On Char, Zagara suffered heavy losses fighting Warfield. And on Phaeton, Noctul was kind of just chilling until war came to her hives. As Kerrigan returned to the Zerg in Heart of the Swarm, she was forced to bring her former lieutenants back to the fold. Thus, we can see that Zagara's roots come from a unit that was never meant to lead from the front or take center stage. Rather, the Zerg Queen was always a figure that augmented the Swarm herself. That would soon change. During Heart of the Swarm, Char is occupied by the Dominion under General Warfield. Despite Zagara's best attempts, her forces are decimated and she's forced to flee to an acid marsh to rebuild. Enter stage-left Kerrigan with a very Terran look. No bone wings, no glowing eyes, no high heels. Why did Kerrigan have high heels, Abathur? Anyways, Zagara is under no illusions. This frail husk couldn't possibly be the Queen of Blades.
You are not the Queen of Blades. You are a weak and pathetic Terran creature. Leave Char while you can. These eggs and this swarm belong to me.
Well, she certainly has ruthlessness and ambition under her belt. The question is, does she know how to achieve said ambitions? While Zagara talks a big game, Kerrigan repeatedly trounces the Broodmother. In the lead up to their fight, Sarah herself acknowledged Zagara's power.
Did the Broodmother Zagara try to take you with her?
No, not powerful enough to command me. Only you.
If she lacks that power, how did she think she could command the swarm? She was reaching for more than she could hold. Ambitious.
Adaptation. Place herself in situation where only option, evolution, force change on herself.
So she may have evolved into something much more dangerous. That will make things interesting.
She was allegedly tougher, meaner, different.
You kill me with minions? At least fight me yourself!
Must be Bronze League. Zagara proceeds to throw the game, sending mostly ineffective Zergling run-bys and getting intercepted repeatedly whenever she leaves her hive. As a green tide consumes her forces, the Broodmother can only exclaim in awe at Kerrigan's power.
Such power! How can you control so many?
F2. Aboard the Leviathan, Kerrigan asks Zagara for her opinion.
Tell me, Zagara, how would you drive the Terrans from this world?
I would obliterate their fortress on the Dauntless Plateau. But the only way to reach it is through the Bone Trench. Be warned, the Terrans flooded our tunnels with lava. We will be exposed on the surface until we reach the plateau.
Kerrigan tries to teach Zagara concepts like vision, but the Broodmother's limited brain makes complex thinking difficult. Though, honestly, I need Abathur to work on my brain too, because Kerrigan's also really vague about her definition of vision. She first lists it alongside certain traits.
You need to learn vision, Zagara. Planning, calculation, cunning.
Then says it's distinct without specifying what it means.
Vision. Is this like cunning?
No.
Viciousness?
Abathur, go to him.
Ma'am, explain to the class, what do you mean by what is your definition? Now before you start typing, we can infer that she's referring to strategy, long-term goals, ambitions, big picture stuff. Zagara grasps basic tactics and has goals, but doesn't have a clue on how to achieve them beyond throwing troops at the enemy. Not yet, anyway. As they push against Warfield in the Bone Trench, Kerrigan tutors Zagara on how not to be dumb.
My queen, we should simply race through the trench, not waste time fighting Gorgons. If we surprise the Terrans, we can make it through with acceptable losses.
And if we don't, the swarm dies. We can use this creep tumor to spawn a tumor near the Scourge Nest. Once it's awake, Warfield's Gorgon is done for.
As early as Old Soldiers, Zagara's improvements bear fruit. She establishes a hive cluster during Kerrigan's initial assault and creates a larval version of the aberration, removing the need for infesting Terrans entirely. With these tools, Kerrigan destroys the remaining Terran forces and secures Char for the swarm. Zagara is tempted to challenge Kerrigan, but she points out the obvious.
Listen well, Zagara. Someday you might rule the swarm. If you think you can take it now, make your move. But the next time we fight, it is to the death. All or nothing.
I will serve you and learn from you. And perhaps someday, I will lead the swarm. But not today.
Thus, as of Char, we see Zagara gain versatility. Through repeated missions and off-screen buffs by Abathur, we'll get to that later, she becomes adaptable, able to respond to and use the changing battlefield to her advantage. On Calder, Zagara gains wisdom, or more wisdom, I guess. When jumping at the chance to torture Lysara, Kerrigan calmly denies her request.
Surely you do not think to show mercy?
Violence is a tool. I use it when I have to. but a leader uses the right tool for the job.
This is a Terran way to think. The Zerg do not use tools at all.
To a leader, everything and everybody is a tool.
Now, unlike the whole Vision debacle, Kerrigan clearly outlines the purpose of both violence and tools. Sure, Zagara could mop the floor with this random Protoss nerd, but that would deprive the Zerg of valuable intelligence and a potential card to play against her expedition. Yet, despite her previous defeats, Zagara is still cocky. Even after losing handily to Warfield, she still opines that Terrans are weak.
Isn't that what you thought about me?
Granted, this isn't entirely her fault. The Zerg see themselves as superior to all others. Foreign organisms are either future bugs or future bug food, so of course these squishy primates aren't any different. It probably doesn't help that most Terrans also become mindless zombies upon assimilation. So just like real life. As for Zagara's colleague, Nefash, the things didn't go to plan.
Nefash, I didn't have much hope of finding you alive at this point. The Protoss will pay many times over. She was intelligent, careful, and tenacious, but she made one mistake. She ran away.
To be fair, tactical withdrawals are fine, but evidently Nefash did not have a backup plan, nor did she use her resources effectively. Somehow she got stranded from her main hive all the way over here. Presumably she was leading an attack and probably got cut off. Nefash reflects what could have happened to Zagara and what will happen to the other broodmothers without Kerrigan's guidance. Dead and cut off from the swarm. On the subject of broodmothers, Enemy Within shows us at least one method of creating a broodmother. Honestly, if more broodmothers could do what Niadra did, maybe Nefash wouldn't have died. Ironically, despite the emphasis on thinking long-term and of the bigger picture, Kerrigan gives Niadra a kind of singular objective.
Spawn a brood and destroy the Protoss. Kill them all.
The Queen of Blades has given us one purpose: to destroy the Protoss.
Ooh, that didn't age well. In fairness, Kerrigan probably didn't expect Niadra to follow the order so literally. Since her current opponents are a bunch of science geeks, Niadra mops the floor with them. But for whatever reason, she's unable to contact Kerrigan afterwards. There's been several theories as to why this happened, but regardless, this won't be the last time we see her. Meanwhile, on Xeris, Zagara expresses disappointment at her race's origins.
A soft world. Char is far superior.
I agree. Compared to the elegant space bugs, these dinos are pretty mid. Except for Brack, that dude was so cool. Wait, no, that one was Kraith. Anyways, Kerrigan warns Zagara not to get too cocky. Space dinos are no joke. As the battle on the planet proceeds, the broodmother gets a chance to practice initiative. When Kerrigan steps into the dino jacuzzi, Zagara takes command of the swarm, provided you do Char first, and as the primals begin fighting each other, she wisely chooses to
Let them kill each other.
Old Zagara probably would have joined in on the fun, but now she has a mission to complete, and stays focused until the transformation is, complete. When Kerrigan emerges as Super Saiyan Rose, Zagara dismisses the notion that looking more Zerg will matter.
You were the true leader of the swarm yesterday, and you will be tomorrow. Your appearance does not matter.
Could be an attempt at flattery or genuine respect, probably both, but as Kerrigan shows, even a Terran can lead the Zerg. So we're halfway through the campaign. Thus far, Zagara's journey to leadership is pretty alright. She's getting all the traits that made Kerrigan and the Overmind so effective in the past. Really, the only issue is that because the game focuses on Kerrigan, there isn't much opportunity to really show her command on screen. A lot of her actions occur in the background. This might have been mitigated if the player had the chance to actually control their hero at some point. After all, most missions in Swarm have you controlling some sort of hero unit. Kerrigan, Stukov, Dahaka, Hyperion. It helps put you in their shoes and sees people accomplishing things, with your guidance of course. But we never get to control Zagara outside of co-op or mods. Granted, her base unit is but as Niadra demonstrated, there was certainly a chance to make her a viable hero all on her own. The reason I bring this up is because Zagara's whole arc is both learning to be a leader and eventually filling in Kerrigan's high heels. Part of Kerrigan's shtick is taking to the field personally, so a nice way to cement Zagara as her successor might have been to give the player control of her as a hero, even for just one mission. Just as Kerrigan takes to the field to back up her army, maybe Zagara could eventually do so as well. Now, in fairness, before you start typing, Zagara's shtick in co-op is spawning minions to do stuff, so maybe a frontline role isn't as necessary. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide on how effective the portrayal of her growth is. In space, Zagara exhibits an interesting ambition. She's understandably confused as to why the swarm is in the middle of nowhere. After all, Zerg have no need for silly little things like love or courtship. Just inject larvae, morph stuff, very simple.
My reasons for being here are my own.
It is your right to keep the truth from me, my queen. But I will try to find it anyway.
Go ahead and try, Zagara. I'm pretty sure this one is outside your understanding.
Funny, but it does demonstrate Zagara's ongoing attempts to evolve. Foreign as these concepts may be, maybe she'll figure out how they work. Of course, no student is perfect, and the isolation starts getting to both her and Dahaka.
There will be no essence here. I cannot collect if there is none.
We are here because our queen orders it. Do not dare question.
I follow for essence.
You must learn obedience, Primal.
Yes, come to me. I will collect your essence now.
Enough! Zagara, do not speak for me. Dahaka, do not collect from my swarm.
Once Kerrigan infiltrates the Moros, Zagara takes charge of reinforcing her, and even warning her when the ship starts to explode.
The Terran vessel is falling apart. You must hurry, my queen.
Like, from her perspective, the ship just started exploding for no reason. While this would be the perfect opportunity to backstab Kerrigan, Zagara instead helps her mentor escape destruction. Again, thinking long term. Aside from serving as our fish out of water regarding Brood War and Stukov, and speculating about how the Dominion got a hold of Hybrid, Zagara's biggest moment of growth on Skyger is when she declines to seize the swarm. After Kerrigan's beam warp with Narud and subsequent shanking, Zagara shows a surprising display of mercy.
Because I still have much to learn from you, my queen.
Despite her previous aspirations to overthrow Kerrigan and lead the swarm, she recognizes the time isn't right. After all, violence is a tool. And so is Kerrigan. This Zagara is thinking ahead. She needs Kerrigan to continue learning. She's neither impulsive nor uncertain. She will lead the swarm, but only when she's ready. Also, there's no way she could beat Amon by herself. On Korhal, while surprised at the number of Terrans, the Broodmother is hardly worried.
The Terrans have no chance. We are numberless. We are the swarm.
Still a bit cocky, but given their past victories, it's hardly surprising. During the initial attack, Zagara initiates her own moves. She proposes destroying gates to send her forces ahead into Augustgrad, to which Kerrigan agrees. While the Queen deals with the remaining orbital defenses, Zagara secures advanced positions. Even towards the end of the campaign, Zagara is still learning. As a broodmother, she doesn't understand concepts like individuality and pities humans for being alone. Could be some of that lingering Amon ideology, but the desire for companionship is hardly an alien trait to us.
I wish I could help them by taking their essence for the swarm and then killing them.
Classic Zagara. Before the final assault on Augustgrad, Manx deploys the Psi Destroyer, a final evolution of the Psi Emitter line. Zagara has the task of holding the center against the Dominion, while Kerrigan and Dahaka neutralize the weapon. After the device is destroyed, Zagara leads the push towards the palace. In their final conversation in Swarm, Kerrigan affirms Zagara's role as second in command.
There's no one I'd rather have as my second for this battle.
The Broodmother's forces even join in on the final assault, backing up Kerrigan at the Southeast Dominion base. As the Queen of Blades breaches the palace, Zagara proclaims,
"Long live the Queen!"
Zagara next returns in Essence of Eternity, commanding the swarm as Kerrigan goes Super Saiyan 3. While we normally play as Raynor, thankfully, Legacy of the Void Zerg Edition is a thing. Sadly, she only has the same spells as a queen, aside from Deep Tunnel.
They're assaulting our base from the other side. These bastards don't let up, do they?
Why would they? Tenacity is advantageous in war.
That isn't what I... Oh, hell, never mind.
A true Zerg leader masters the art of war, not social awareness. Anyways, after Kerrigan ascends, Zagara gains control of the swarm, vowing to remember her lessons. In the epilogue of the epilogue, Zagara forcibly claims Char and its surrounding worlds as her own, holding an uneasy peace with the Dominion and the Daylong. Thus, we can see that at the end of Legacy, Zagara shares many of the same traits as Kerrigan and the Overmind before her. She can adjust, she can think, she can act, she can, sort of fight, have goals, and has a healthy regard for her foes. Really, the only complaint I'd have regarding her journey is how a lot of it ends up being off-screen, from the changes made by Abathur to a lot of her command being in the background of Swarm and Legacy. It's a shame that the player never gets a chance to control her. Granted, the focus is on Kerrigan and Artanis, so it's understandable. The closest mission we get is Crucible, and even then, Zagara doesn't really take to the field compared to Stukov or Dahaka. Regardless, by the end of the main story, she seems poised to bring the Zerg down an unknown path. No Amon, no Kerrigan, and for the time being, no war. Thus a big question and test that any leader must ask during peacetime. What now? Zagara next shows up in some comics where Niadra, that one broodmother, kills Urun, that one Phoenix pilot. Her next appearance is during Starcraft Evolution, which sees her taking the Zerg down a more peaceful route. Instead of killing and eating things, they now plan to create life using the leftover Xel'Naga essence from Ulnar. Apparently, Kerrigan offered this choice to the Zerg. As a Zerg main, this was painful to read. I much prefer when the Zerg were ravenous space bugs. Doesn't help that Zagara seemingly does a 180 from her stance at the end of Legacy. Forcibly claiming planets does not sound super friendly or peaceful, but it's up to the player to decide. Regardless, Over-Queen Zagara pulls some shenanigans and disables Protoss satellites around a previously purified planet. Abathur uses the essence in beings called Adostra to regrow life there, drawing the attention of the Protoss as well as the Dominion. Everyone shows up and the Broodmother offers this cool life-making essence in return for peace. Artanis is understandably skeptical, but Valerian's more open, and so they send a survey team of some oddball characters who get attacked because obviously. During this time, Zagara demonstrates remarkable patience and tact dealing with her former enemies and minions, especially Artanis. Of the 3 Adostra nests, 2 are destroyed, but 1 is saved. Some crazy shenanigans happen with a psi emitter and a nuke, and these weird creatures called the Psialisks, or Chetha, who also have Xel'Naga essence. Turns out, Abathur was the villain all along. He hates peace and wants constant war to continue evolving the swarm. Him and Zagara square up, and despite being more peaceful, Zagara shows she's no slouch in a fight. Abathur ends up literally eating his creations at her like he's Thrag from Invincible, but in the end he loses, yet is spared, because Zagara needs his expertise for future experiments. Despite my misgivings about the direction the book took the Zerg in, Zagara still exemplifies many of the traits she gained in the games. Rather than immediately resort to violence, she tries a more subtle approach in the novel, and as the final fight shows, she hasn't lost her edge in combat. Not bad for someone based on a support unit. So we come back to the big question at the start of the video. Is Zagara a worthy successor to Kerrigan? She has the traits, she has the experience, she's not nearly as strong, but it's Kerrigan, don't worry about it. So has her reign matched up to her predecessors?
Possibly.
It was always going to be tough matching up to Mr. Eyeball and God, but Zagara's reign so far has been far from perfect. Her failure to keep Abathur and Niadra in line demonstrates that there are cracks in her authority. Nevertheless, Zagara still maintains the tenuous peace between the 3 races, and upholds her predecessors' plans to rebuild after the End War. Even before taking the throne, she held the line on Xeris, Korhal, and In the Void. She helped take the Queen from a support unit to a central player. Thus, while she's far from the greatest leader of the Swarm, she has significant accomplishments and potential for bigger things. Sadly, it's still too early to tell whether she'll live up to her forebears. After all, her reign has only just begun. Well, it would, but there's no shot we're ever getting StarCraft 3. Anyways, that's it for Ziggy Zag. I'm kind of blanking on what to do next. Part of me wants to do some stuff on other series, like 40k again, but I know most folks just want to see StarCraft on this channel, so we'll see. Maybe I'll make another poll again. Anywho, shoutouts to Gladys Marino, Happy Acrid, Michael Phillips, Mike Pierce for supporting this channel. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, and train your neck muscles for that heavy crown, 'cause you're all monarchs to me.